Good morning, fifth grade. Okay, this video will go along with the Zoom meeting that I had on Thursday morning where we talked about the volume of a irregular shape, or the way the learning target stated it is that I'll be able to find the volume of a complex figure by partitioning it, cutting it up, the figure into two non-overlapping rectangular prisms and adding their volumes together. So the shape is it's a non-rectangular prism, and we want to break it into two rectangular prisms. So I will share my screen with you, and you can see the problem I'm going to work out. You can see it nice and close. Okay, so we have a shape, an irregular shape they call this, and what we want to do is we want to take the volume of the two shapes that we've created. So in this example, we've actually cut this shape already horizontally. So you have shape number 1 and shape number 2. So we need to find out what the volume is of those two shapes and then add them together. Okay, so I'm going to look at shape number 1 first, and it's the one on the bottom. All right, so I'm going to kind of highlight that shape so I can see it really good. And it goes back. All right, so now I'm going to look at volume, which we already know is length times width times height. Length generally goes along, like it's long, it goes across, okay? So my length then would be 10 centimeters. All right, and I'm going to call this number 1. My width is what goes back. It's the depth of this shape, and it says 3 centimeters. So times 3 centimeters. And then the height is in the back here. It goes up 2 centimeters. So I'm going to multiply that by 2 centimeters. So I have 10 times 3 times 2. And again, you can figure this out any way you want. You can multiply them in any order you want because the commutative property tells you that. Doesn't matter what order I put the factors, as long as I multiply them, I am still going to get the same answer. So I'm going to take my 3 and my 2, and that's going to be 6. And I'm going to multiply it by my 10. So this one is 60 centimeters cubed. And that's number 1. Okay? So that's number 1. Now, I'm going to go to number 2, my shape number 2. Okay. And shape number 2, I'm going to look at the length, the width, and the height. So my length here it says this whole thing here is 10 in the front, but the back says it's only 6 because of this shape. So I have to figure out what this is. Well, I can do one of two ways. I can subtract 6 from 10, or I can add a number plus 6 to equal 10. So I'm going to decide I'm going to do 10 minus 6, and that's going to give me what the length is. So that'll be 4 centimeters. So this then would be 4 centimeters. Sometimes you have to figure that out because they don't give it to you exactly. All right. Then it says here that from here to here, it's 2 centimeters, but from here to here, it's 4. And I only want to find out what this is. So this says that the height is 4. So I know my length is 4 centimeters. My height is 4 centimeters. So what's my width? Well, my width would be the same as the width of the shape number 1 because it's directly on top of it. So it says from the front to the back is 3 centimeters. So that would be 3 centimeters. So then I just take those 3 and I can multiply it. 4 times 3 times 4, and that'll give me 12 times 4 is 48 centimeters cubed. So now I have 60 centimeters cubed plus 48 centimeters cubed. And I add those together, and that will give me 108 centimeters cubed will be my total volume for this shape. So this would be 108 centimeters cubed. Basically, my strategy was to cut these up into shape 1 and shape 2, find the volume of each one, and add them together. All right, so that's our first one. Our second one is going to be this shape here. So I have one rectangle and 2 rectangles. All right, I'm going to call this 1 and this 2. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I want to figure out what the dimensions are for my first shape, my first rectangle. All right, so my volume of number 1, my length, my width, and my height. So it tells me right here, from here to here, that my height is 3 inches. So I'm going to do 3 inches. My length is what goes across. If it's 7 inches in the back, it would be 7 inches in the front. And this part going back is the same as this part going back. Okay? We call that the width, how deep it is. So this and this is equal to this and this. So if this is 4 inches, this has to be 4 inches. So I have my 3 dimensions for my first rectangular prism. So I just multiply them. And I know 4 times 3 is 12. And I can multiply that by 7, which gives me 84 inches cubed. So that is the volume of shape 1. Now I want to find out the volume of shape 2. So this is number 2, and I'm going to do length and width and height. All right. So I know my length right here, from here to here is 15 inches. And I know my width is the same as my width of my first shape, and it's 4 inches. And I know my height is how high it is. I look in the back, it says that it's 6 inches. So I have my 3 dimensions again for shape 2. So I will go 15 times 4 times 6. All right, so I know 15 times 4 is 60. 60 times 6 would be 360 inches cubed. So I now have my volume for shape 1 and shape 2 of this irregular shape. So I'm going to add those two together. So I have 84 inches cubed plus 360 inches cubed, and that'll give me a total of 444 inches cubed as my total volume. So on my sheet here, I'm going to write 444 inches cubed as my volume for that shape. And my solution strategy was, well, I found out the volume for my rectangular prism number 1, found out the volume of rectangular prism number 2. I added those together and I got 444 inches cubed. Again, we just have to, the best strategy is just to take your time, partition your irregular shape. If it's not partitioned for you, in these cases, they already had a partition. They already had a line that was cutting them up, this line and this line. So we didn't really have to do it ourselves like we did in our lesson. But if you have to do it yourself, it's okay. You're just going to partition it the way you see it and then find the volume of each shape. So hopefully this video will help you when you do assignment 1004 next week. Have a great day.